Hello there, outliers. Niiamah Shang here. Thank you so very much for letting us be a part of your journey. Today, we have an Outliers Edge roundtable where we are joined by none other than Ross McDaniel. Ross, thank you so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Niiamah, Outliers Edge crew, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. What we do here on each of these roundtables is that we take the time to see what it is about you and the way that you show up that allows you to play in what we call like the 3% collective. This element of being exceptional at what you do, and but also allowing like your uniqueness. It's less uniqueness. I try and watch my language. You'll see that you'll notice my I pay attention to it. It's more about like the authentic elements of you, your natural strengths and talents that come out in a unique way. You know, it's almost like the rareness of you, and how you continue to leverage that to make your impact in the world, and like improve the lives of your clients and your employees and partners. Right. So with that, there, Ross, I start off every conversation asking people this question here, and the question is this: would you mind telling us more about you and the game you're currently playing? It doesn't have to be pickleball, but like let us know what you stand for in the world. Let us know what you're up to in the world, and give us a chance to get to know how you show up as an outlier.
That's a great question. I think for somebody like me, it's an uncomfortable question. Um, Somebody that battles imposter syndrome, somebody that really didn't anticipate being an entrepreneur. I think before the call, we were talking about the term accidental entrepreneur and how I certainly embrace that. And so, just as a founder, I think you certainly do have to start with the founder as part of the origin story of how any successful business comes to be. Uh, but I want to be clear that is me has very little to do with the why and where we are today
Nice.
within FencePost. Um, so yeah, I what FencePost exists to do, what I exist to do, and my wife and our little community here is really impact every city across America, and doing so at the local level. And the type of impact we want to create is human flourishing, and we believe we can do that through relationships and developing businesses that really foster tendrils of connectivity and foster relationship in honestly mid-market communities all across America. So we're setting out to do that. I think we've got some lofty goals, but ideally we can see human flourishing happen in our local communities at the local level. That's why we're here.
So I really love this, and I'm glad that we're starting out in this way, right? So two things that I'm getting about you already, Ross. One is like I feel like you have a high level of awareness, right? Like you understand yourself, but you also understand that what you are building and what you're about is greater than you. And it feels like you're building it in that way. I'm actually really excited that we get to have you here. Because even as you talk, well, I'm going to ask you more questions about FencePost, and it's really lovely when I recognize this about myself when I have guests on. Like I get more curious about their business, the more that the individual is like willing to show like who they are through it, right? And so one, I got the awareness that you have and the fact that you've created something that's larger than yourself. And then two, I really love that you started out here with a connection to impact and a connection to mission, right? I think it's gonna be really fun for outliers to hear like your way of doing that, your way of making that come to life. Because I think that there's a desire in us to keep playing at higher levels of impact. But then we may ask ourselves, but this is all I know how to do is X, Y, Z. How can that be impactful? And so would you mind letting us know here more about FencePost in general, like how you are the channel you are using to create the impact that you just talked about?
Yeah, I think to do that, you do have to kind of like rewind and zoom out for where I come from. I live in a small town called Augusta, Georgia. The biggest thing we're known for is a golf tournament, the Masters. And you would think that that alone would just like we'd be this massive mecca of business and enterprise, whatever else. It's just not true. Our main drag is pretty bleak. It's coming though, don't worry. But we're always 20 years from 20 years of being something, right? And I think there's a lot of cities like that across the US. But for myself and my wife, uh, we always, being from here, saw ourselves as getting out. We're going to leave Augusta, and then you graduate high school and for whatever reason, life has you staying at Augusta State at the time, Augusta University now. It's like, okay, well, when I graduate, I'm going to go work at a huge agency or a big bank or something else in Charlotte, Atlanta, Charleston, New York, something. Then you graduate and, well, you're still there. And then fast forward 10 years and you realize like, oh, wow, I have, been placed here intentionally. I am here in the city. And instead of complaining about where I'm not or complaining about the status of things in the city, why not be a part of that? And actually, if I want to be a part of that here, why wouldn't other people want to have that same feeling about their hometowns all across the US? And so my background is in digital marketing. I started off, one of the reasons that I stayed here in Augusta was I got an internship at a really small boutique agency back when just being in digital marketing was a niche in and of itself. Was working for free there, and then, you got paid a whopping $24,000 a year after that. And um, fast forward the clock, really getting to be a big part of a very small pond, a big fish in a small pond, and getting to work with just some really cool companies everywhere from the mom and pop that's hanging their shingle at the local hardware store up to some like big Fortune 1000 tax prep brands. And seeing that breadth of experience and seeing really how these different companies were all leveraging similar growth principles to impact whatever their business model was, I thought, man, we really need to be combining our calling here in Augusta with these growth principles that massive companies are seeing and experiencing. And let's try to share that with home service businesses, specifically local service businesses across the US. And so that's really what FencePost exists to do today. We have a local growth formula and feel like we can generate you new customers predictably and profitably with our digital marketing tactics and our local growth formula. We've actually tested out that formula on our own business with a coffee shop here in Augusta called Trellis Coffee Bar. And together, those two things are really expressions of our vision.
Yeah, I could feel you while you were sharing this story here. And like the things I was feeling was one, just like integrity, right? Like you could have just described what you did, but for what I'm hearing is that like you actually consistently root like what you are doing back into the why, back into the story. What is like the difference what's the difference that you have found that has made for you in the business, both as either directly for your clients or for the people that work with you? How do you see the delta on like being able to go back to the roots or the why?
That's a really interesting question. I don't know that I've actually been asked it that way before. But yeah, like at the end of the day, they serve as guardrails, and guardrails in this realm don't just mean what you have to say no to. I think it really provides continuity and consistency. And I don't know, Claude, ChatGPT, new tactic A, B, or C, none of those existed 15 years ago when I was starting in this space. But it really doesn't matter. Those are just new tools, same mission, same why. And so if we can root I don't know, the idea of what the definition of what success is in a consistent why, well, we can really navigate the changing tides and waves of whatever new thing is out there, whether that's new consumer demand, new user experiences, new tools. I don't know, like even geopolitical stuff that's happening. Really, your why provides those guardrails, and I guess in a more positive light, the continuity and anthem that you get to rally around.
As you're saying this, I'm smiling here because, Ross, on my end here, I've been going through a journey with my business right now, and when you talk about the why here, I'm smiling because I'm like, oh, this is what I've been missing. I know the what we're doing outliers as like I know this is happening, and we're going to continuously bring together people, change like shape their thinking, help them see different things from perspective, so on and so forth. But the why got lost, and I think this is why it's one. I just want to say thank you, right? Because one, it is deeply impactful for me. I'm going to be spending some time after this conversation, just like sitting with and reconnecting with my why. Actually, that's not true. I'll be spending time during this conversation, sitting with and reconnecting with my why. But I'm not. There's no reason to wait for it. But I also think that there's a lot of times where us as outliers, like we spent our time trying to achieve a goal, trying to prove something, maybe prove it from an external perspective, like there's something in your story that that hits me, because I
Mhm.
often say like I'm not supposed to be here, right?
Right.
And I find like that's a common statement that happens around outliers. But what I hear from you is like you took that, like I constantly think like I don't belong here, I'm not supposed to be here, right? But what I heard from you
Sure.
was you're like I'm yes, this is my hometown, but I'm not supposed to be here. And then eventually you made that into something really, really good. You were
Yeah.
able to build from that there. And there's something in that I just feel like just has a whole lot of magic.
Man, well, I appreciate you saying that. I think shining spotlight on self is that's a difficult thing for myself, and yeah, like to have some level of impact at any point in relationship is meaningful. It's a two-way street. The gift of giving is strongest for the giver. So I'm really glad that there's some level of impact there, but it's not trite. I mean, it comes from a place of there's been a lot of mental hurdles and work that's had to be done internally in my own mind to arrive at this place. Because at all those
Yeah.
checkpoints that we were talking about of like, oh well, I'm going to leave after this, or I'm going to leave after that, or I'm going to leave after this. I mean, at none of those points was I saying, oh, I'm super content. This is great. Um, but when you kind of zoom out, you realize a lot of life, a lot of business, and where you're at in both of those is really a matter of perspective. And where we're at today in business, how many different we're in I think like 25 states now, 26 states,
Nice.
are a goal of by 2030 to be in 50 states. Um, I never would have dreamed that we could be there. FencePost could be serving a client in 26 states, but it's not enough, right? And it's
Mhm.
not, you got to keep
Mhm.
moving. And so I think that introspection and like really looking back and reflecting and measuring things in months and quarters and years as opposed to days and weeks is important.
So let's play around with this here. So one of the things that I'm hearing is the purview on time, like the kind of the arbitrage of like looking at things on longer time horizons versus like the immediate returns of things. I'm hearing that. Um, I'm also hearing this like one of the next levels for you is like being in all 50 states here and not liars like we're hearing Ross here, like we're going to apply some of the things that he's talking about and that are coming up here in our own lives. Actually, when I say that, I'm like, we're going to have our own insights based on the conversations that are here. We're going to grow as well. And some of you might know a local service provider, a local home service business, or someone that can help make this goal of being in all 50 states come to life in a more meaningful way. And so my ask here, I think that like I want to look at our world as something that is consistently building and growing with each other. So if there's someone someone that you think should listen to this conversation, someone that should know Ross, like make sure that they get their hands on this conversation because I think that they're getting to see Ross in a different way. And then Ross, if someone wanted to go and just like work with you or go deeper down with you, like how do they do that?
Yeah, go check out our website and we'll give you a free assessment on everything we can see from our end in terms of where you're ranking in Google searches, how you're actually showing up when people review you and everything else. Just go on over to fencepost.co/contact and we'll be happy to take some time.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for that. Here, I think that this is it's interesting here, Ross, because I don't always like make those kind of calls in. I don't really like, and I'm learning about myself as we go through this because you're helping me again get deeper in touch with the mission, right? And the goal here is like this is not to just like produce content, right? There's a deeper thing that's going on. It's how can we as outliers, people who've chosen to do things differently, continue to grow and help each other grow just because we're uplifting the game. And one of the things that I'm getting about you, Ross, is that like you've chosen to build a very successful business for a group of people, but you've done it in a way that feels different. That feels that it's not just about it's not just about the numbers and the metrics. And yet, my background's I started out as a math major and I graduated as an economics major from college. So like, and yet you're not leaving the other parts of
And
business
yet,
behind. Yes.
yeah.
So Ross, like, tell me, like, how do you play across both of these areas? Because we're right now we're talking about who you are as a founder, the like what I'm getting into, like the ethos and philosophies that is behind the business that you have, the why behind it. When it comes to the business itself, how do you marry or juxtapose both of those components so that it leads to better results?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think you can have really big missions, really big, hairy, audacious goals, and if they don't actually like have practical impact, then the why matters a lot less, the mission matters a lot less, and so I think it's important to marry, our why with creating relationship and seeing human flourishing in every city across America. With, well, how do you actually do that? And so for us, we see the most thriving local communities are served by highly profitable, thriving local service businesses. I mean, think of the plumber that has been around since 1986, and was referred to you by your great grandmother and everybody after that, right? I mean, that those are the types of things that, and you think of the classic one of Mayberry with the picket fences and whatever else, and maybe that's a little altruistic, but the principle applies there, where the ideal of a local community, they're all supported by local service providers, the local dentist, the local doctor, the local CPA, the roofer, the plumber, the HVAC man, right? The milkman back in the day. And so if we can help those businesses thrive, if we can help them grow, inevitably so. And to be clear, you have to meet a certain criteria to work with us. That's not just financial. There's essentially a character requirement as well. If we feel like you are already making a positive impact in your community and you need a little bit of gas in that fire to really explode that impact, you're a perfect client for us. And so that's the way we actually do it. That wasn't the sole, that's not the perfect answer to your question, but I think it's important. The more tangible answer to your question
Before
is,
before we actually get
oh,
to
go
the more
ahead.
tangible answer to the question, I
Sure.
actually think like outliers, some outliers out there like, no, Niiamah, don't do this. But I think like that was I think you said it wasn't the sole thing of the question, like SOLE, but I think it was a SOUL, right? I think it was like the
Great
soul
call.
of the and and so like like I don't know, there's something about business where I'm like the tactics aren't like overly complicated. It's like, are you going to do it or not? But they're not overly complicated. And yes, I'd love to hear some of the things because I'm very interested in how you build your business and so forth there. But there were things in what you heard that I think are just like casually phenomenal. And I think that if we can bring them out here, I think there's some outliers out there that would really benefit from it. One of the things I heard was that was the way that you own that there's a criteria that goes beyond a financial mean, right? And there were two things that I heard from that. One, I felt that it moved you into the buyer in every relationship you have. So it's not just like can you pay us? It's like you're not selling something there. You're actually you have something to offer, and you're like, who do I want to give this to? Right. And there's something about that relationship that I feel like keeps everyone in power. Your customers get to be a buyer and you get to be a buyer. Do I actually want to do this business? Right. That's my interpretation. Two, you also have to be at a certain level of skill set. You don't have to be, but it also demonstrates a certain level of skill set, trust in work, and not just competence but excellence to go and say like to both turn away business that's there, but and also like say I want to help the people who will get more than just a financial return from this. If you're already doing good, I want to go and add gas to that fire and make that come up to life even more. That to me has soul underneath it. There's some real stakes underneath. I think that's what it is. Tell me, Ross. Like I'm hearing this, and I can feel my arms getting goosebumps around it. And so I want to make sure I'm leaning into it more. Like, what is your experience of
Yeah.
it? How have you seen the transform the way you do business and interact?
Yeah, I don't think you're off base there. I definitely think it's the soul. And I also do want to be quick to acknowledge that there are stakes in having a criteria. I mean, to have a standard means that not everybody can hand you a dollar for your work. And sometimes that's really scary. And we're pretty forward with who we are and where we're at. We're just crossing the $1 million mark
Nice.
in annual revenue. And, you know, a retainer is a retainer and it's really helpful to the bottom line. So to say no to that does cost something,
Mhm.
but there's also a return in saying no. So each no actually brings a return. It solidifies with your team that, hey, like our standards are not to be compromised, our why and our mission is not to be compromised. And it also like helps other clients understand that, man, there's mutual expectation here. By no means do I think that we're the only solution and provider out there. Like you said, I mean, at the end of the day, the tactics and the mechanisms of business are all pretty similar. I think in Ecclesiastes, you made a biblical reference before the call, but in Ecclesiastes, there's like nothing new under the sun. I think it's
Mm.
from the Bible, and I think that's the same for our business. We're just repackaging things and really trying to put heart and soul into those things.
I think that's why like the conversations we have here, like outliers edge, when I focus on the outlier, I'm like being the outlier in this case gives you your edge in a very real way because it's the authentic integrity that is you that that gets us to escape from being a commodity. There's ways we can package things. There are different ways we can put our offers together that solve problems in unique ways. And I also think that like part of what you choose to do or how you choose to do it like is stemmed in this one element where it's like someone came to me and said to me, it's like you are once in a and you are a once in an eternity existence. You're once in an eternity existence. There will never be another you on this planet. And I think like that part of like there's nothing new under the sun, like there's a nice little juxtaposition of that. It's like we're going to do the work. It's going to be done at a high level. And now you're getting what Ross and his team and the culture that we bring, that like you're bringing that ethos in that is different. It's like we can still get you the same results, not even the same. We'll get you the results, and you'll see this extra delta because we have this additional approach to it. You have the bandwidth for it. You have an ethos where the people who your other clients are also like engaged in this. Your team goes the extra mile because they know that they're not just like moving like trying to hit like ROAS numbers on something, but they're they're seeing the impact. They understand how this is going to impact like the local community, and it goes that extra way. I'm making all of this up, Ross, but it's like it's the things that feel really true to me as I hear you describe it, where I'm like, this is the space where, like, in working with you and being true to a why that's deeper than just the business itself. These are the kinds of possibilities we start to open up. Would you like to
Totally
expand on
agree.
that right now? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no shortage of opportunities. I think getting ourselves in front of the right people is always a struggle at a practical level for business, right? I mean, you need to always be selling,
Hmm.
but at the same time, well, yeah, I mean, the fishing analogy really makes sense here. When you
Hmm.
put your line in the water, you're fishing for something specific, and
Hmm.
you know, if you catch a bunch of stuff that you're not fishing for, that's great, but you don't have to pull that into your boat. I'm not actually a fisherman, so I can't actually
I,
relate.
I've
You
gotten
know?
fishing once or twice in my life, so I
Right.
can't really refine that in any way, but it feels right.
Yeah, feels right.
It feels right. So let me look at this here. So right now I'm seeing how the ethos plays out. Like let's go a little bit internal, right? So to the people on your team, whether they're direct employees or contractors or vendors that you work with, how does the way that you show up tell me how that what am I trying to get to? I'm curious about how this ethos, how this this deeper why impacts the way that you lead your team or you build relationships with the different vendors and consultants that you work with.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with our core values that every team member not only is required to know, but also embrace, and then to like be accountable to demonstrate throughout the days, weeks, and months. And
Okay.
we've got it broken down into values nuggets. One is locally focused. As a brand, we are just locally focused, not necessarily in Augusta. We've got a very remote team, a very hybrid team. Um, we're focused on local U.S. cities. Second value is strategy through clarity. We want to always be strategic first. We want to pursue clarity through a strategic lens. And we believe the best way to bring impact to ourselves, to each other, to our clients is by bringing clarity. And we do that by looking at things strategically, not tactically. The third is relationship first. Relationship first. I mean, at the end of the day, I care more about you. I care more about my teammates. I care more about my clients than I do myself or the bottom dollar. The last two are tenacity. We are always going to have hard things. Work is going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but being tenacious and not succumbing to the overwhelm is important for all the three aforementioned values to actually happen. And then we get results is the last one. I mean, we're very proud of what we do and we think we do it well. And if we can't do it well, we need to tell you and move on.
So I'm smiling as I hear this here. So in a prior life, which I still think is the same iteration of it, I used to work in company culture, and so I was very, I still am. I think that the part of why this entire business got born was because I realized how impactful what we were doing was in our local, in just our one office or our one company. I was like, oh, I don't know if other people know that this is possible, you know. And so it was one of the impetuses to go out and create something like Outliers Edge. But the when I hear you talk right now, it makes me think of a thing that we call values in action, right? So something about having your company values, but there was another thing about having it like values in action. And the difference for me was like when you talk about like we get results, right? We get results is something that like we can like I'm imagining as being on your team. Like when I hear it externally, I know what that means, and when I hear it internally, I know what that opens up for me. I know that like, okay, we're running into a roadblock. Something's not happening. We still get results. Luckily, you have the other three on here to make sure like you also filter out what kind of things are we willing to do to get said results. But like at the end of the day, we're not like we don't make excuses. We get results, you know. And I just want to call that in there because I worked beforehand. I worked at one of the big four consulting companies and auditing companies, and I remember right outside the office that I would go into. So we had a room on the floor, and there was I can see the picture of a little placard right next to where we would enter, and it had the values, and there were five values, and all like branded in the company colors and everything. And I can't tell you one. I can't tell you one because it was just values. They didn't root it in actual action. So when I hear you say things like we get results, and the other ones have fallen out my mind right now, but every single time you said it, I was imagining how we can act, like how being an employee or being a client of yours, like how actionable each of those were. So I just wanted to make sure I'm reflecting. I don't know if you have anything to say around like
Yeah,
your
I
process
appreciate
of
that.
coming up with this here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, businesses have to be profitable to
Mhm.
make impact. But the profitability, I think a lot of businesses, good, bad, or otherwise, can figure out a way to be profitable and make money. And so once you get there, and you're in the whatever percentage of companies that are profitable and making money, well, there's another differentiator. Like, what are the mission focused companies, and to be in that even upper echelon of the profitable money making companies really is to make tangible impact. So the formulation of those values, yeah, came from me in many ways, but it's also an invitational. There's an invitational component to it, to like, hey, it's not just me. Let's have other people come along with this, and let's work with clients that want to do this. And back to those aforementioned guardrails we talked about before with the why. Well, these are a further extension of that, and
Mm.
it makes it real easy to get results as one of our values when you're working with a bunch of people that match your criteria or values aligned, and only want to use you for the things you're really good at. So yeah, that was an abstract extrapolation on what you said.
No, I think that this is like, but it's to me, I hear this and it's very applicable, right? Even that last line, like only want to use you for the things that you're really good at. like outliers, like this is part of what the game is. Like when we talk about outliers edge, we're not just talking about like what are you doing that's courageous. We're saying what gives you an edge? What's your advantage? What's the thing about it that is like what you're really good at? And then we have these conversations looking at some of the deeper elements and some of the frictions, the things that might hold you back from showing up that way so that people can actually see like and see and understand what your talents are, right? So when I hear you, Ross, like you're really clear. You've created things through your why and the way that you choose to go, and your why and your story. You've created things through your values and actions, like and the way that like the ethos of your culture, and all those things start to both to filter out people who are like, nah, I'm not about this. Like, I just want to just go in. So there's a filter out. It draws people in, but I think you just did something for me that like I'm grateful for. I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened in just a bit. But what I'm really getting is that like it invites people. It takes a stand and says, this is who we are. This is how we do things. If you want these results in this way, like we're one of the places on this planet where you can come and get that. Other people can get you the results and they might get it to you in a different way. And if that doesn't align with you, then who you are at your best is not going to be able to have a platform. And I'm hearing that show up. I'll tell you why it's important to me in just a little bit, but um, before I go forward, is there anything you want to say to what I just brought up?
I think you nailed it, and I'm glad it's having some impact.
Yeah.
That's the other byproduct of getting on different shows and interactions with other people is you get an opportunity to externally process everything that's in your head or just like virtual on paper. And it's really cool to talk about these things out loud in a conversational manner, especially to folks who like you don't need what I do, and there's no like transactional interaction here, right? Like it's truly just a conversation about what matters to people. And
Yes.
I think that should be at the core of a lot of businesses.
Yes, yes. I think that plays out, and there's a freedom that I also feel that comes along with it. Like rather than a desperation or a hustle, it's like
Freedom's a great word for it.
yeah, it's just like okay, like we have the ability to be free, and at the same time, there's ways that we can continue to support each other. Um, I'll let you know, Ross, the impact of what you shared and what it had on me. Are you good with that? Okay. So I was just the other day, I was in like literally yesterday, I was in a space where I was getting supported by my coach in the mastermind. And when I left that conversation, I realized that I was like, my leadership feels off. I'm doing the actions, but my leadership feels off.
Mm.
And he put out a couple different invitations to me. I realized I couldn't speak to what it is that I wanted to have happen. And I left the conversation recognizing that like I stopped being specific about what it is that I wanted. Right. I
Mm.
had I had moved myself to a very responsive kind of role where I was like, I'll take what comes and we'll maximize whatever happens in real time. But like I'm not gonna say this is what we are or this is what we'll do or this is how we will go. And as I heard you talk about the invitation here, I realized like that's what I was missing, or that's part of what I've been missing, where the real connection to this isn't for everyone. It's a wonderful thing. I love it. We have the best time and we get incredible results for the people that we work with. And this isn't for everyone. You're invited to come and see if it's for you. And let's be clear what it is so that you can make a decision to come in. And if it's for you, you're gonna get the best results possible. I often talk to my clients around like, I'm like, who's gonna get results from just you sneezing? Like if we can find like you on your worst day, they're still like, wow, like the way you handled that problem that showed up, the way that you cleaned up after, like if you can still do that, like that's alignment. And I didn't realize it until you
Yeah.
talked that there was a pathway to making those invitations. And I just want to say like the timing of this conversation is rather uncanny because if it had happened yesterday, I would have moved on to something else. But like
Put it
it's
on the shelf.
deeply,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's going straight to the heart, and bypassing the brain and going straight to the heart and being like, this is what it looks like. this is how you want to show
Yeah.
up in the world.
Yeah, and odds are good that you've heard this 20 times before, and now it's just the time that it's hitting. I think that's the way it was for me. So by no means am I the first person to say these things in this order. Uh, but yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I mean, the other thing is it just naturally feels bad to say no to really to anybody in any situation other than like hostile situations, right?
Mm.
It feels bad to say no. But I think what's really cool to remember is the people that you've said yes to will also benefit greatly, especially in like a communal environment, like what you're fostering. They're going to benefit greatly from you protecting the flock, so to speak,
Yeah.
keeping folks out.
Yeah, that feels real. That feels really true. Ross, let's we're about to start wrapping up here, but I want to get into. Do you mind sharing with us a project or a possibility that you're creating that really excites you? Maybe even gets you like sweaty palms. That like, I want to know like what's next? What's the edge that you either as an individual or as a business are taking on right now?
Yeah, I'll share two if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Um, One is something we've been working on for quite some time, and it's we're in year three, middle of year three, and that is our coffee shop, Trellis Coffee Bar, and that was truly an expression of all the why and the vision and purpose behind, especially my wife and I and our partners, our vision for community here in Augusta, and but it's also been a kind of a playground for our local growth formula at FencePost, and so whew, man, radically different business than a knowledge-based professional service. Coffee, thin margins. If you're looking to go make a million in coffee, come talk to me first.
Mhm.
It is a different world, but the relationships built there are incredible, and so I'm really excited about that. It gives me sweaty palms for so many different reasons.
Mhm.
The positive reason is that man, the relationships are really cool. So that's one. I think the other is more tactical on the fence post front, and that's we are we understand that we could get left behind very quickly, and so I mean, ChatGPT was like the rage for all of 4 seconds. Now Claude is here, and there's going to be something next week that's even bigger than Claude, and we're going to keep seeing this AI snowball.
Mhm.
And so at FencePost, we've really been working hard on what we're calling the AEO Answer Engine Optimization Playbook, where we want to make sure that local service businesses, professional services, are showing up at the very top of recommendations when people are inevitably shifting their search and use habits to these answer engines.
Yeah.
So we want to be first. We want to help our clients be first.
I think that's so fantastic. Like there's things about like the AI search engines. It's like I'm not oftentimes looking for like a like I'm not actually even oftentimes asking directly for how can I get help. And then next you know it offers it offers a program or something. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go use it because I need to move forward and this is what's here. So
Yeah.
to find a way to be embedded into that, Ross, I think it's a great great endeavor and a great value for your clients there. Thank you. All right.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So I think it's a good place to end. Like I was gonna go and ask there's some more questions I can ask here. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. We have like 2 minutes. We have a little bit of space. Ross, do you have any questions for me? I haven't really brought that in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I don't think that anybody starts a business without having some sort of why. And so I know you said you were struggling with coming up with your why, but like if you dig deep and look back, the very first day before anybody paid you a dollar, like why did you start Outliers Edge?
Yeah, I think I appreciate
And
that.
they can change. They can
Yeah, no,
change.
no.
It doesn't have to be. It's the beginning.
Like I realize that there's multiple moments along the way, but I think that the underneath all this here is that I've always been part of what I tend to call like the 3% club. I now call it the collective because I there's just something that just feels different to me. But I feel like I was part of the 3% club. So I when I was working in the consulting group, I was working as a retirement actuarial consultant, and I got pulled into a forum. Sorry, what's it called a focus group. And one of the questions that they had, they said, we invited you here because 3% of all actuaries in the US are African American. And that stuck to me because like up until that point, I had never looked at like the percentage of the people around, like all I knew about my world was the world that I was in, like the room that I walked into each day, and that was a very eclectic
Most of
room.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went to go and I worked in tech. And that same statistic kept coming up. It was like, hey, just 2 to 3% of all people working in tech are African American. And someone actually went through my organization that I was working at. We had about like 1,200 people, and they calculated it up there. They think they had like I forget what the number is, probably like 22 or something like that. Like these are all of like the people who are African American in this organization. And it was somewhere around like 2.5%, you know and I think is like the real why for me, because when I was looking at this, I was like, I don't feel any different. I'm not like, I wouldn't consider myself the top 3%, right? But I'm like, I consistently find myself in this like like statistically improbable 3%, you know.
Mm.
And given that, there's I realized that there were things that I was doing that require that was asking me to be smaller than who I was, to kind of conform in order to not be kicked out by the 97%, and I realized that, like, in reality, what they were getting was a watered down kind of like, like watered down code switched version that was palatable for people, but not like the actual like fullness of me. Like they weren't getting my best because like there was just a lot at risk for me. If I felt there was a lot of risk because I'm like not
Sure. There
like,
probably
yeah,
was.
if I don't act a certain way, if I don't show up a certain way, there are things that I get kicked out of this club. I get
Absolutely.
kicked out of this club and I go join the 97. And so I think that more than anything else, there were a lot of different events that took place. But when it came time to build something for myself, what I realized was that the people I gravitated to the most, the people that got the best results for me, were people who didn't have a traditional story. They were in their own way in the statistical improbability. They're like the first of their family to go to college, like it wasn't about the color of their skin. It was just like the way that they saw themselves, or the thing that the thing, yeah, the way that they saw themselves or who they were being was just different. And that I think that in a lot of different ways, like that's why I do this, because I I didn't realize the cost I had to pay to be accepted. I'm still paying it. I'm still trying to wash all that off. Um,
Untangle. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And like I'm trying to be untangled and unleashed, because I'm like me on my like I want to get to know who I am, and I want the world to be able to see what I can do, and more importantly, I want to see what I can do. And I think
Mm.
like Outliers Edge is really it's based on that in some way, shape, or form, where it's like the people I work with, the things that I do, the conversations I have, the platforms I use. Like, there's a reason why I do live stream and group calls, and I don't give too much information beforehand, because I'm like, I want you to have an experience where you can leave this thing and know that you don't need a prep in order to be able to be good. You don't need it to be edited in order for it to be good. You don't even need to know, like, you can show up in a room with other people and still excel. Or if you don't excel, you're going to have a lived experience of like, wow, how did I show up in that conversation? Did I oh, when he asked, as soon as the recording turned on, I ended up changing. I ended up shifting how I was. Like, there's something here about building out the nervous system and making that, like, increasing the impact of the 3%, given that's where I've always been. Um, like that feels like it's really deeply tied to what I do or why I do.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. That is a
Yeah.
profound response that it was unexpected and yet totally makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks, Ross. I don't share it. And I'm like, oh, I think it's time to start doing this. I think it's time to do this. And I want to say thank you to you uh, for leading the way, for being an exemplary in the sense that you choose to be an example of walking through life and building with integrity. What could you remind outliers one more time, if they want to go deeper down the journey with you? How can they go ahead and do that?
Yeah, connect with us on Instagram or LinkedIn. But if you want to interact with us more directly, fill out a contact form at fencepost.co/contact. And we would love to connect. 15 minutes, an assessment. We'll take care of it.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. And then I end every conversation with this one last question. Every conversation I have is built on the premise of it being a life changing conversation. Can you share with us in which ways like, what insights you've gotten from this conversation, if any? If nothing's come up, like, don't feel like you got to make anything up.
No, I mean, I think the reminder that our why matters. I think even having shored up values in why and mission, they can still become mundane. And that's why you have to remind yourself of the impact of those each and every day. And today you helped remind me that, okay, these do have power and impact.
Well, outliers, like I want to know about more about your insights from this. Put it into the chat, put it in the comments. This is an ongoing conversation that we have, and we'll end our conversation here. We'll be back again soon with with another conversation. Just know that from the bottom of my heart, like I want to see you succeed. So until the next time we talk,